I still remember the afternoon. My mother introduced me to a woman at a wedding and smiled as she said, "This is my daughter. She's very stubborn." The woman laughed. I smiled too, but that word stayed with me all the way home because for almost 30 years I had been known as the obedient daughter. Now I had somehow become the stubborn one. My name is Eda. I'm 34 years old. And if you had asked anyone in my family what my future looked like when I was growing up, they would have answered without hesitation. I was going to study a respected course, marry a good man from the right background, live close enough to visit every weekend, help raise my younger siblings, care for my parents in old age, and raise my own children the way I had been raised. Whenever people spoke about me, they always ended the same way. Dada would never disappoint us. As a child, I thought that was love. I worked hard, stayed out of trouble, came home on time, and never questioned my parents' decisions. If they said yes, it was yes. If they said no, it was no. Being obedient became part of who I was. I honestly believed making them proud was the same thing as being happy. The first crack appeared at university. I was studying the course my parents had chosen for me. My grades were good, but every day felt heavier than the last. One afternoon, I walked into the wrong lecture hall by mistake. A guest speaker was talking about storytelling, media, and the power of ideas to change lives. For the first time in months, I forgot to watch the clock when the lecture ended. I stayed behind. She smiled and asked, "What are you studying?" I told her. Then she asked another question. "And what do you actually want to study?" Nobody had ever asked me that before. I opened my mouth, but no answer came because I genuinely didn't know. That question followed me everywhere until I finally admitted the truth to myself. The life I wanted looked nothing like the one already planned for me. I quietly changed direction. I took different classes, learned new skills, and applied for opportunities without telling anyone. When I finally told my parents, my mother stared at me in disbelief. "You left a respected profession for this?" "I didn't leave," I said. "I found where I belong." My father said nothing. He simply walked outside. His silence hurt more than anger ever could not long afterward. I received an offer from a company in another city. It was everything I had hoped for. When I shared the news, my younger brother hugged me first. My mother didn't. "So you're leaving? It's a great opportunity. What about us?" "I'll still come home." She laughed quietly. "Come home," as if we're relatives. Soon the phone call started. An aunt reminded me how much my parents had sacrificed. An uncle said family should always come first. Another relative asked who would help with my younger siblings. Nobody asked why the opportunity mattered to me, only what everyone else would lose. If I accepted the night before I left, my father came into my room after sitting in silence for a long time. He finally asked, "Is there nothing here worth staying for?" I looked around the room where I had grown up. "There is," I whispered. "But there's something waiting for me there too." Neither of us slept much that night. Building a new life wasn't as easy as everyone imagined. The freedom I wanted came with loneliness I hadn't expected. The first Christmas. In my new apartment, I cooked far too much food. Halfway through dinner, I reached for another plate before remembering there was nobody else at the table. At home, Christmas was loud. Someone always complained about the meat. My mother shouted from the kitchen. My father laughed at his own jokes. That evening, the loudest sound in my apartment was the microwave beeping. Freedom had given me the life I wanted. It had also given me silence. I missed birthdays, Sunday lunches, and ordinary evenings on the veranda. Whenever I visited, the conversations always ended the same way. "When are you coming back?" Then another opportunity arrived. A prestigious position opened in my hometown. It paid well, offered security, and would finally bring me home. My relatives congratulated me before I had even decided. My mother sounded happier than she had in years. "I knew you'd come to your senses." But I had already made my decision. I wasn't going back, not because I didn't love my family, because I had finally built a life that belonged to me. After I declined the offer, something changed. Phone calls became shorter. Messages became polite for months. I wondered whether choosing my own life had cost me. My family, then my younger sister, called. Our father had collapsed. By morning, I was on the first flight home. None of our old disagreements mattered in that hospital. My mother looked exhausted. The moment she saw me, she wrapped both arms around me and held on as though she had been waiting years to do it. During the following days, we worked together without talking about the past. I handled paperwork. My brother stayed overnight. My sister organized medications. My mother hardly left my father's bedside. One evening, while rain fell outside the hospital, my mother finally asked, "Were you happy?" She wasn't asking about that week, she meant the years away. "Yes," I answered. She looked down at her hands. "I kept hoping you'd come back because I thought you were lonely." I was lonely sometimes, I admitted, but I was also happy. She nodded slowly. I didn't know. A few days later, my father was strong enough to talk. "For years," he said quietly. "I thought you were running away from us." He paused. "Now I think you are running toward yourself." Those words healed something inside me that I hadn't realized was still broken. Our family didn't change overnight. My mother still asks if I'll ever move closer. My father still believes life would be easier if I lived nearby. We still disagree sometimes, but now we also laugh. Our conversations last longer. Our visits feel like home again instead of interviews with time. I realized my parents' expectations had never come from pride. Alone, they came from fear. Fear that life would hurt me the way it had hurt them. Fear that one wrong decision could undo years of sacrifice. They believed they were protecting me with the only map they trusted. I simply needed to follow a different one. Looking back, the hardest decision I ever made wasn't changing careers or moving away. It was accepting that the people who loved me most might not understand my choices right away. Love doesn't always look like agreement. Sometimes it looks like answering the phone after difficult conversations. Sometimes it looks like boarding the next flight home without keeping score. Sometimes it looks like giving people time to understand the person you've become. My mother still calls me stubborn sometimes. She says it with a smile. Now I smile too because she no longer says it like an accusation. She says it like someone who finally understands. I never became the daughter my family imagined, but I became someone they learned to know instead of trying to predict. And in the end, that was enough for all of us.